How I became the school's prettiest girl. High school felt like a never-ending loop. The same hallways, the same faces, the same whispers behind my back. If someone asked me to describe myself, I wouldn't know what to say. Average? Invisible? Those seemed accurate enough. My name's Emily Carson, and if there's one thing I've mastered, it's blending in. I wasn't the kind of girl people noticed. My morning started with hurried ponytails and rummaging through secondhand clothes that never quite fit right. I preferred sitting in the back of the classroom, where the teachers rarely called on me and the other students hardly remembered I existed. It wasn't that I hated my life. I just felt stuck. Like I was watching the world happen around me, but wasn't really a part of it. My grades were fine, my home life was fine, and my friendships, well, they were limited to one person, my best friend Kara. Kara was everything I wasn't. Confident, bubbly, and impossible to ignore. She had this way of making people laugh and drawing them in like a magnet. Sometimes I wondered why she stuck around me. Because you're real, she'd always say. But deep down, I wished I could borrow just an ounce of her shine. My reflection was my worst enemy. I saw plain brown eyes, dull skin, and a face that begged to fade into the background. I didn't have the perfect hair or radiant smile of the girls who ruled the hallways. And yet, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to me than what everyone saw or didn't see. Late at night, when the house was quiet, I'd hum to myself. Singing was my secret. It wasn't something I'd ever share, not even with Kara. I wasn't a starry-eyed dreamer imagining myself on a stage. I just felt alive when I sang, as if, for those few moments, I was free. But that was the thing about secrets. They kept you safe, but they also kept you small. Somewhere deep inside, I longed for a change. I didn't know what it would look like or how it would happen, but I wanted to step out of the shadows. To be seen. To matter. I never imagined that an innocent suggestion from Kara would set everything into motion, or that I'd find myself on a journey that would change my life. All I knew was that I couldn't stay invisible forever. Something had to give. And maybe, just maybe, I was ready to find out what that something was. The cafeteria was its usual chaotic self, voices bouncing off the walls, trays clattering, and the faint smell of pizza that had probably been reheated one too many times. I sat across from Kara, picking at my food while she chattered about her latest crush. "Are you even listening to me?" she asked, narrowing her eyes. "Yeah, Ryan from physics," I mumbled, though I'd barely registered a word she'd said. Kara sighed, leaning forward. "Okay, seriously, Emily. What's up with you? You've been extra gloomy lately." "I'm fine," I said, shrugging. "No, you're not. Spill." I hesitated, unsure how to put my feelings into words. "I don't know, Kara. It's like, I'm stuck. I feel like I'm invisible, and no one even cares that I'm here." Kara's expression softened. "You're not invisible to me. I know. But don't you ever wish you could be more? Like someone people actually notice?" She sat back, crossing her arms. "Emily Carson, you're way more than you give yourself credit for. You just don't let anyone see it." Before I could respond, her eyes lit up. She reached into her bag, pulling out a bright yellow flyer. "This," she said, sliding it across the table, "is how you're going to change that." I picked it up, reading the bold text. "School talent show. Sign up by Friday." I laughed nervously, shoving it back toward her. "You can't be serious." "Dead serious," she said. "You sing all the time. You're amazing. Why not show everyone else?" My stomach tightened. Singing in my room is one thing. Singing in front of, like, the entire school? No way. Kara leaned closer, her voice firm but kind. "Emily, you've got something special. You just need to stop hiding it. This is your chance to prove to yourself that you're not invisible." Her words hit me harder than I wanted to admit. I'd spent so long pretending I didn't care, but deep down I did. "What if I mess up?" I whispered. "Then you mess up," she said with a grin. "But at least you'll have tried. And who knows? You might just blow everyone away." As the bell rang, I found myself clutching the flyer. Kara's faith in me was unshakable. Maybe, just maybe, I could borrow some of her confidence. For the first time, I wondered what it would feel like to be seen. The flyer sat on my desk for 2 days before I even considered filling it out. I'd pick it up, stare at the blank line where my name was supposed to go, and then put it back down. My mind swirled with doubts. What if Kara was wrong? What if I got up there, opened my mouth, and nothing came out? Still, I couldn't bring myself to throw it away. Something about the idea, as terrifying as it was, tugged at me. You haven't signed up yet, have you? Kara asked as we walked home after school. She had that knowing look in her eyes. Not yet, I admitted, kicking at a pebble on the sidewalk. Emily, she said, stopping to face me, you're never going to know what you're capable of if you don't take risks. I sighed. It's not that simple, Kara. I'm not like you. People actually expect you to succeed. With me, it's different. She shook her head, her voice softening. You're right. You're not like me. You're you, and that's exactly why this matters. You have a chance to show people who you really are, not the girl who hides in the back of the room, but the girl with a voice that could make them stop and listen. Her words echoed in my head that night as I stared at the flyer again. Finally, with a shaky hand, I scribbled my name on the line. My heart raced as I folded it into an envelope and placed it in the submission box the next morning. There was no turning back now. Kara wasted no time diving into Project Emily. She showed up at my house with a bag full of makeup and a playlist of songs to practice. First things first, she said, unpacking a curling iron. If you're going to perform, you need to look the part. I groaned. Kara, I'm not one of those girls. You can't just slap on some lipstick and expect me to turn into Beyoncé. She grinned. Good thing I'm not trying to make you Beyoncé. I'm making you Emily, just with a little extra sparkle. The first time she applied eyeliner, I blinked so much, she nearly poked my eye out. But when I finally looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. My brown eyes seemed brighter, and my lips, painted a soft pink, made me feel different. See? Kara said, standing behind me. You're gorgeous. You just needed a little push. The next hurdle was picking a song. I wanted something simple, but Kara had other ideas. You need a song that'll knock their socks off, she said, scrolling through her playlist. We finally settled on Someone You Loved by Lewis Capaldi. It was a song I loved, one that felt personal without being overwhelming. But practicing, it was a roller coaster of emotions. The first time I sang in front of Kara, my voice cracked halfway through, and I burst into tears. I can't do this, I sobbed. I'm going to humiliate myself. Kara hugged me tightly. Emily, it's okay to be scared. But you're doing this for you, not for them. You have a gift, and it deserves to be shared. Her words stuck with me as I kept practicing. Each day, the notes came a little easier, and my confidence grew in tiny increments. Kara would cheer after every run-through, her energy contagious. One afternoon, she surprised me with a thrifted dress she'd found, a sleek black number that hugged my figure in all the right places without feeling over the top. Try it on, she urged, practically bouncing with excitement. When I stepped out of the bathroom, she gasped. Emily, you look like a star. I didn't believe her at first, but as I turned to the mirror, I saw a glimpse of the girl she kept talking about. A girl who could be more than invisible. As the talent show drew closer, I started to feel something new, a spark of hope. The fear was still there, but it was joined by a quiet determination. Kara had become my anchor, reminding me every step of the way that I was capable of more than I thought. She believed in me so fiercely that little by little, I began to believe in myself too. For the first time, I felt like I wasn't just going through the motions. I was stepping into something bigger, into someone I'd always wanted to be. The week before the talent show, my confidence took its first major hit. I was in the cafeteria with Kara, nervously humming the chorus of my song under my breath as she fixed my hair. That's when Olivia, the queen of our grade, decided to make her move. Wait, she said, her voice dripping with mockery as she walked up to our table. You're telling me you're performing at the talent show? She let out a high-pitched laugh that turned a few heads. I froze, my cheeks burning. Kara was quick to jump in. Yes, she is. Got a problem with that? No problem, Olivia said, smirking as she flipped her blonde hair over her shoulder. I just didn't realize they were letting anyone on stage this year. What's next? A pet talent show? The table behind her erupted in laughter, and I felt like shrinking into myself. Kara stood up, her eyes blazing. Keep laughing, Olivia. You'll be choking on your words when Emily steals the spotlight. Olivia just shrugged. We'll see. She sauntered off, leaving me fighting back tears. I can't do this, I whispered, staring down at my uneaten lunch. Kara sat back down, her voice gentle but firm. You can, Olivia's just a bully who's scared someone might actually outshine her for once. Don't let her win. Her words were reassuring, but the doubt lingered. That night, as I practiced, the notes felt heavy, like I was dragging myself through the song. For every step forward, it felt like I was taking 2 steps back. As if Olivia's comments weren't enough, my insecurities started to creep in at the worst moments. One evening, during rehearsal in the school auditorium, I caught a glimpse of myself under the harsh stage lights. What are you doing, Emily? I muttered to myself, staring at my reflection in the grand piano's glossy surface. My voice cracked during the next run-through, and I dropped my head into my hands. Kara found me backstage, tears pooling in my eyes. Hey, she said softly, sitting beside me. What's going on? I'm not good enough, Kara. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not talented enough. I'm just not enough. Stop, she said, gripping my shoulders. You are enough. You've been enough this whole time. You're letting fear tell you lies, and it's time to stop listening. Her words hit me hard. I wiped my eyes and nodded. I'll try, I whispered. The days leading up to the show were a mix of small victories and crippling nerves. During one particularly good rehearsal, the music teacher, Mrs. Hale, stopped me after my performance. Emily, she said, her voice kind, that was beautiful. You have a real gift. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Her words carried me through the moments when my confidence faltered. Like when Olivia and her friends whispered and giggled every time I passed them in the hall, or when I caught my reflection and felt like I didn't belong in the dress Kara had picked for me. The night before the talent show, I almost gave up entirely. Standing in front of the mirror, dressed in the sleek black outfit, I felt like a fraud. What if Olivia was right? What if everyone laughed? Kara walked in, as if sensing my doubt. You're scared, she said, closing the door behind her. Terrified, I admitted. That's good, she said, surprising me. Good. It means you care. And if you care this much, Emily, it's worth it. You're ready. You just don't know it yet. Her words stayed with me as I went to bed, nervous but holding on to a flicker of hope. Despite everything, the doubts, the judgment, and the fear, I'd come too far to back out now. I wasn't just fighting for a moment on stage. I was fighting for myself. Mia stood before the full-length mirror, her hands trembling as she held a lipstick tube in one and a brush in the other. The soft glow of the morning light spilled through the curtains, illuminating the modest apartment. Today was the day. No more hiding, no more apologies. She would step into the world as herself, Mia, not Michael. She began with foundation, smoothing it over her skin with deliberate care. Her reflection shifted with every stroke, her features softening into something that felt real, authentic. With a steady hand, she traced her lips in a bold crimson, the color symbolizing everything she hoped to embody: courage, passion, and resilience. The dress she had chosen hung on the back of the door, a flowing teal garment that danced in the breeze. As she slipped it over her shoulders, she marveled at how it hugged her body, accentuating her curves and making her feel whole. The final touch was a pair of delicate earrings, their silver accents catching the sunlight like tiny stars. Mia took a deep breath and stepped back. For the first time, she didn't feel like she was pretending. She saw herself, not a shadow of who she used to be, but the vibrant woman she had always been inside. Tears brimmed in her eyes, not of sadness, but of joy. When she emerged from the bedroom, Emily was waiting in the living room. The moment her wife looked up, her breath hitched. "Mia," Emily whispered, her voice tinged with awe. She stood, closing the distance between them, her hands trembling as they reached out to cup Mia's face. "You're radiant." Mia's heart swelled at the sincerity in Emily's gaze. "You really think so?" "I know so," Emily said firmly. "You're glowing. This is who you are, and it's breathtaking." Later that day, Mia decided to take her first step into the world as herself. The two of them visited a local cafe, a place they had frequented for years. As they entered, conversations paused, heads turned. The stares were piercing, but Mia held her head high, Emily's reassuring hand resting lightly on her back. A barista they knew, Jamie, smiled warmly as they approached the counter. "Mia," he said, his voice steady and kind, "you look incredible. It's great to see you." The warmth in his tone melted some of her tension. She smiled back. "Thank you, Jamie." For the first time, Mia didn't feel like she had to shrink away or explain herself. She felt seen, truly seen and accepted. As she sipped her coffee, she realized she was no longer just surviving. She was living, free of the fear that had held her captive for so long. Mia was finally home in her own skin, and the world, with its challenges and uncertainties, felt brighter than ever. The auditorium was packed, the buzz of excitement filling the air as students, teachers, and parents found their seats. My name was next on the program, printed in bold letters that felt too big, too visible. My heart pounded as I peeked from behind the curtain. Kara stood beside me, squeezing my hand. "You've got this," she said, her voice steady. "What if they hate it?" I whispered, my hands trembling. "Then they're wrong," she said with a grin. "Because you're about to blow them away." The MC's voice echoed through the speakers. "Next up, we have Emily Carson performing Someone You Loved." Applause rippled through the audience, and my feet felt glued to the floor. Kara gave me a gentle nudge. "Go." Taking a deep breath, I stepped onto the stage. The lights were blinding, and for a moment, I couldn't see the audience. My hands gripped the microphone as I tried to steady my breathing. The first notes of the piano track began, and I closed my eyes. "You can do this," I told myself. The first line escaped my lips, shaky but on pitch. As I sang, the trembling in my hands eased, replaced by the rhythm of the music. I opened my eyes, and for the first time, I saw faces, not as a crowd, but as individuals. My voice grew stronger, carrying the emotions I'd buried for so long. Every note, every word felt like peeling back a layer of myself, revealing a truth I'd been too afraid to share. When I reached the chorus, something shifted. The fear melted away, replaced by a fierce determination. I wasn't just singing a song. I was telling my story of longing, of doubt, of finding strength in the quietest parts of myself. The room seemed to hold its breath, the silence between the notes amplifying every emotion. I could see Kara in the front row, her face glowing with pride. Even Olivia, sitting a few rows back, had stopped whispering, her expression unreadable. As I hit the final note, the silence hung for a heartbeat before erupting into applause. The sound washed over me, louder and more genuine than I'd ever imagined. I stepped back from the microphone, my chest heaving. For the first time, I felt seen, not as the invisible girl in the back of the room, but as Emily Carson, someone worth noticing. Backstage, Kara enveloped me in a tight hug, her voice choked with emotion. "You were incredible." I smiled through the tears streaming down my face. "I did it," I whispered, the words tasting like victory. For the first time, I wasn't afraid of being seen. I was proud of who I was. The Monday after the talent show felt like stepping into a new world. As I walked through the school hallway, I no longer stared at my shoes or hid behind my hair. My shoulders were back, my head held high. "Emily," someone called. I turned to see Mia, one of Olivia's friends, smiling at me. "Your performance was amazing," she said. "I had no idea you could sing like that." "Thank you," I said, my voice steady. All day, classmates stopped me to offer compliments. Even Olivia approached me during lunch, though her words were more restrained. "You surprised me," she said, her tone almost grudging. "Good job." Kara, sitting beside me, smirked. Told you she'd blow everyone away. It wasn't just the compliments that felt different, it was how I felt inside. For so long, I'd believed I was invisible, unworthy of attention. But standing on that stage, sharing my voice with an audience had shifted something fundamental. That afternoon, Kara and I sat on the bleachers, soaking in the autumn sun. "So," she said, nudging me with her elbow, "how does it feel to be the school's newest star?" I laughed, shaking my head. "I don't think I'm a star. You're my star," she said with a grin. "And now you know you can shine, too." Her words warmed me, but it wasn't just her belief that mattered anymore. It was my own. In the weeks that followed, I found myself saying yes more often. Yes to joining the school choir. Yes to sitting in the front row during class. Yes to trying new things that once felt too far out of reach. Singing became more than a talent. It became a way of expressing myself, of connecting with others. And with every note, I felt closer to the version of me I'd always wanted to be. Looking back, I realized the talent show wasn't just about proving something to others, it was about proving something to myself. That I was more than my fears, more than my doubts. I had a voice, and it deserved to be heard. For the first time, I felt alive. I felt free. And most importantly, I felt like me. Sometimes, the greatest battles we fight are the ones within ourselves. For so long, I believed I was destined to remain invisible, defined by the walls I built around me. But I learned that fear thrives in silence, and the only way to overcome it is to find your voice and use it. Taking that first step onto the stage wasn't about becoming someone else. It was about embracing who I already was, the strengths I'd buried beneath doubt, the potential I'd hidden from even myself. We all have something that makes us unique, something worth sharing with the world. It's easy to let fear and judgment hold us back, but when we take the risk, when we dare to be seen, we discover that we are so much more than we ever imagined. Your voice matters. Don't be afraid to let it shine.